The crowd held its breath as the red drape fell, revealing a golden plaque with her name, the lead investor her own father had just said didn't exist. For years, they'd underestimated Claire Montgomery, cutting her out of deals, and even the family will, until this moment turned the stage into her battlefield. What would you have done in her place? Share your thoughts below. I've learned to let people underestimate me. It keeps their backs turned when I reach for the lever. The invitation to my family's groundbreaking arrives like a dare with a ribbon on it. Ethan's old warning drifts back as naturally as breath power plays are arranged in quiet rooms, not on stages. The phrase sits in my mind while I work the wax-sealed envelope into the side pocket of my bag untouched. The red ribbon looped over its corner reminds me of the curtain they'll pull tomorrow morning, a theatrical gesture for an audience that believes the drama is over before it begins. The cafe smells of roasted beans and the faint salt that comes off the water on breezy days. Light slides across the lake, hitting the glass panes behind me, so I'm framed in gold and shadow. Austin in April is restless dealmakers with one boot in ranch dust and the other in venture portfolios. At a corner table, two real estate lawyers murmur over a map. Beside the bar, a pair of founders are dissecting an API pitch. The room is a chorus of ambition. A courier approaches baseball cap, Low Montgomery Holdings, embossed on the packet he sets before me. I sign without looking at him. Inside the program for April 15th, 10 sharp. The schedule lists the speakers in crisp serif font, ending with recognition of principal investors. My name is absent. I order an espresso and smile at the omission, as if it were a private joke. Absence has a weight to it, one that shifts in my favor when the right leverage is applied. Ethan arrives with the same quiet efficiency he uses in depositions. His suit is more practical than polished, his tie knotted with precision but not flourish. He places a slim folio between us, the kind of document case that hides more than it reveals. I draw it toward me and see the Delaware certificate first, Blue Horizon Capital, LLC sole member and manager Claire Montgomery. He taps the page once, then flips to summaries. Solaris Nova acquisition closed Q4 last year. Escrow cleared in February. Post-tax net proceeds verified. I recognize the bank letterhead in another document notarized and dated. He slides one more paper forward, a DocuSign audit trail for the Emerald Shores operating agreement. My eyes catch the clause he's highlighted, lead investor with at least 20% equity, retains veto power over major decisions, budget over 10 million management changes, disposition of land. I feel the slow pull of satisfaction in my chest, the kind that doesn't show on my face. Across the room, a woman in a navy sheath dress sits at the bar. Her profile turned away, but her posture deliberate. Ethan's glance tells me what he doesn't say aloud. Madeline Ross, financial reporter, and not the kind you invite unless you expect a headline to stick. He produces a second envelope, heavier than the first, its wax seal unbroken. For the cameras, he says voice flat. I leave it untouched on the table, fingers tracing the smooth paper once before I let it rest. When Ethan leaves, I remain in the pocket of fading sunlight alone with the quiet mechanical hum of the cafe. My iPad pings a message from the fabricator. I step outside to take the call, wind ruffling the corner of the program still on the table. The voice confirms what I already know: the gold plaque has been engraved according to my written authorization as Blue Horizon's manager. Delivery and installation went ahead yesterday, booked through the city's vendor under the development agreement submission list. I walk back in, take my seat, and rest my fingertips against the seal of the unopened envelope. The wax is smooth edges, crisp, ready to fracture with the smallest pressure. See you on stage, Dad, I whisper to no one. Stages aren't built for truth. They're built for angles. Mine will be a close-up. The red drape over a waist-high plinth stirs in the morning wind, a wink of fabric that matches the ribbon from yesterday's invitation. Somewhere beneath it, metal letters wait, already in place, already permanent in a way few things are. The Emerald Shores site smells faintly of new lumber and fresh paint, the kind meant for photographs. White tents line the edge of the waterfront, their guy lines taut velvet ropes guiding guests toward a wide dais with the municipal seal at its center. The skyline shimmers in the distance, skyscrapers leaning into the light. Tripods cluster in the media pit, their lenses blinking awake. Behind the stage, the VIP lounge is a hive of careful conversations and curated expressions. An usher in a dark blazer checks badges with the efficiency of a bouncer. Mine says family black letters on white laminate. Vanessa approaches in a sheath dress the color of champagne air kissing with the precision of a metronome. Her whisper is sweet enough to leave a burn. Selfies only, right? I tilt my head, say nothing, and glance at the program on the registration table, bold type that reads, "Only principal investors on stage." Richard's voice hits the sound system, the low, resonant timbre that built a career in boardrooms and ballrooms alike. Today, he tells the crowd we honor the real investors, the ones who put more than hashtags behind a dream. Laughter ripples outward, catching on the breeze. Mark, standing a pace behind him, leans into the mic with a smirk. Some of us grew up. Some never left Etsy. My cheeks cool even as the air temperature rises. Inside, something colder spreads, sharpening the edges of every sound, every movement. Madeline is in the second row, angled just enough to keep me in the corner of her shot. She drifts closer, her question casual on the surface. "How transparent is your capital stack?" But the glint in her eye says she knows exactly where it will land. Vanessa glides between us, delivering a practiced PR gloss about community-driven funding and shared vision, the phrases polished to a corporate shine. The red drape shifts again, its edges lifting and falling like a slow inhale. Across the dais, a junior city staffer leans toward the stage manager, clipboard in hand. Their exchange is quick, quiet, and unnoticed by anyone preoccupied with the speeches. Richard scans the crowd until his gaze locks on mine. The smile on his face doesn't reach his eyes. "Only those with skin in the game," he says, gesturing toward the stage. The words hang there, bait for the audience's anticipation. A murmur moves through the crowd, warm and expectant, waiting for me to take a step forward. I don't. Instead, I adjust the strap of my bag just enough for the wax-sealed envelope inside to tap against my hip, a steady, deliberate rhythm only I can hear. The plaque unveiling in 5, the MC announces. The breeze picks up, tightening the red cloth across the plinth so that the outline of raised letters presses through, ghosting the truth just beneath the surface. Rooms get quieter when power thinks it's alone. That's when it talks too much. Amber light warms the VIP lounge like a filter designed to flatter donors. Champagne stands ready in cold silver beads of water, slipping down each flute as if the room has already decided to celebrate. Ethan's line hums in my head: "When they're sure they've won, they set the table for you." Just as I step past the mirrored bar and take in a cluster of investors comparing watches beneath a foam board of Vision 2030 renderings. The lake outside flashes through tinted glass. I practice the neutral mask that buys me time. Vanessa arrives, first perfume citrus sharp. Looking for a job or a husband, she asks, stage whisper bright enough for the nearby board members to enjoy. Laughter lands like ice cubes. I tip my glass, then let it hover inches from my mouth. Neither. I'm here because I'm part of this project. Richard doesn't miss a beat. "You haven't put in a dime." The word dime is deliberate, folksy, useful for cutting. One of the directors lifts an eyebrow at me, the same condescension men reserve for girls at charity galas who confuse tickets with influence. I catalog his face and move on. Mark is already holding court fishing for deference. "January was a nightmare," he brags, shaking his head for effect. "All that tidying up of paperwork, wills, trusts, you name it." The slip is small and smug. It lands. Heat blooms and dies in the same breath. There is no vacancy for it. January, then. The amendment? I feel Ethan's attention from the edge of the room, the quickest flick of his gaze to the wall clock. 11:02, then back to me. Timestamp noted, motive clarified, nothing said. I drift toward the renderings, the champagne still untouched. The posters imagine glass arcs and palm courts, water like polished steel. What's the threshold on major decisions again? I ask lightly, as though I'm making weather talk. Vanessa scoffs into her flute. Before she can varnish a board member, volunteers too much. Lead gets veto at 20. He says smug and didactic, but lead is invited, not arrived. He believes the etiquette is law. He believes invitation is gatekeeping made sacred. I nod as if educated. A server passes with a tray. I accept a second flute I won't drink. The room hums with small victorious sounds, cork pops from somewhere, a watch band clicks, a compliment folds into another. Ethan stands within earshot, saying nothing, the quiet ballast that keeps this room from tipping into farce. I picture the DocuSign hash tucked into the sealed envelope in my bag, the bank letterhead, the clause that converts 20% into a brake on anyone else's ambition. Their ignorance is oxygen. I let them breathe. Richard breaks from a group of donors long enough to approach me. Smile engineered for photographs. Enjoying the show, he asks. It's a strong turnout. Crowds like certainty, I say. He chuckles as if I've agreed with him, pivots back to his orbit. Vanessa watches my reflection in the bar mirror, hunting for a crack. I offer her one she can misread silence. I check the time. My phone pulses once in my palm. Positions Madeline texts. Outside, a stage manager's voice carries down the hallway, calling names to their marks. I set my champagne down untouched and slide the wax-sealed envelope deeper into my bag until the leather tightens around it. The knot is ready. As we file out, Richard claps my shoulder for the audience in the hallway. Smile for the family photo. I do because some smiles are knives. Some reveals are quiet. This one will sound like metal on marble. The white tent breathes with the breeze canvas ribs flexing as if the whole structure has a heartbeat. The wax-sealed envelope in my bag feels heavier now, like it knows it's minutes away from sunlight. Rows of folding chairs face the dais. Banners of city and company flank the podium, their blues and golds arranged for cameras, not shade. The polished stone plinth sits just off center, red drape pinned at the corners, its fabric stretched tight enough to hint at raised letters underneath. The MC warms the crowd with gratitude. Donors, partners, principal investors, his cadence trained for ribbon cuttings. Richard strides forward on cue, smile fixed Mark and Vanessa flanking him as the mayor takes position by the plinth. I remain in the aisle where my badge family catches just enough light to register and be dismissed. Madeline is a diagonal up from me. Cameraman squared lens hood like a dark iris, her expression the calm before ink. Phones tilt. The media pit lifts and lowers like a bank of periscopes. Beyond the tent, the lake throws sun at the edges of the scene, a bright rim on every object. The mic stands, the brass finials, the tension in Mark's jaw. The stage manager counts on her fingers where only those of us watching for it can see. 3, 2, 1. The drape drops. Metal kisses stone with the soft clink that 100 people swear they heard at once. Claire Montgomery. Lead private investor burns in the noon glare, each letter catching fire and sending it back. For a split second, there is only the shape of my name in gold, and the collective intake of breath as the crowd rewrites its memory of the morning. The MC reads the names into the microphone, cheerful, unsuspecting his voice running along the engraved line like a highlighter. Richard's body locks half a step from the podium. Mark's smile hardens into something unusable. Vanessa's eyes flick to the stage manager, searching for a misprint that isn't there. Murmurs ripple outward, a living thing changing color as it passes. I step forward unhurried, letting the camera angles find my face and then my hands. The envelope comes free with a faint tack of wax against leather. Madeline meets me at the edge of the plinth. I offer, she accepts. The seal cracks with a tidy snap meant for lavalier mics. Pages fan under the sun. On top, the notarized signature page to the Emerald Shores operating agreement, the DocuSign audit trail code printed along the footer like coordinates. Beneath it, a bank letter on watermarked stock. The crest ghosted in the fibers verifying an incoming wire, $75,000 in Susan dollars from Blue Horizon Capital, LLC. The cameraman tilts down for the close shot. The watermark blooms. The hash line registers. The crowd leans as if proximity could grant comprehension. I hear the exact moment skepticism becomes arithmetic. A city official near the podium frowns, then nods to himself. A board member lowers his sunglasses to see better. A donor's laugh dies mid-breath. Somewhere a chair leg creaks like a hinge swinging shut. Gasps mix with camera shutters. Richard stammers, "Impossible. Minimum's 50. Madeline's mic catches every syllable. I keep my expression small, manageable micro movements, not victory. The lake wind threads the tent again, lifting the edge of the red cloth where it has fallen, as if to prove it can still move what's already been revealed. From somewhere behind the cameras, Mark's voice cuts through. She didn't use her own money. I turn, already reaching for my phone. Flashes don't just capture faces. They lock in the order of battle. Ethan's warning from the cafe slots into place as Mark shoulders through the semicircle of cameras. When they hit back, they choose where they think you're weakest. He plants himself at the mic stand, someone abandoned jaw tight enough to creak. This is someone else's money hidden behind her name. The crowd inhales. The mayor glances at his aide as if there were a protocol for family wars. I nod once to Ethan. He moves with the unhurried certainty of a man unafraid of paper. The iPad appears in his hand, bright even in the noon glare. I angle it toward the front row. Acquisition agreement. He says, keeping his voice even for the boom mics. The header is unmistakable Soltech energy. Term summarized, closing date stamped last year. I swipe. IRS Form 1099. B. I say the numbers crisp, my name anchored at the top. Another swipe. Wire receipts. The bank logo sits on white like a seal. I look straight into the nearest lens. All proceeds are mine. Mark reaches for volume, not substance. You expect us to take your tablet as truth. Ethan is already there. Copies available, he says, and a junior associate I hadn't noticed is passing printed packets to the first row tabs, color-coded exhibits labeled. A board member who laughed earlier doesn't laugh now. I watch the recalculation happen behind his eyes, the tiny inward nod people give when they decide what story they want to be on the right side of. A city development liaison edges close enough to share a microphone. For the record, she says, careful but firm, Ms. Montgomery satisfies the city's recognition criteria for lead investors in this project. It lands like a gavel without the theatrics. I don't smile. I keep breathing and let the air carry the statement through the crowd like a current. Section 5.3, Ethan adds palm open as if reading a weather report. Under the Emerald Shores. Operating agreement, any lead with 20% or more capital can veto major project decisions. Budget over 10 million, management changes, land dispositions. No jargon, no hedge, just architecture. The press shifts posture. Microphones tilt toward me. So what does that mean, practically, someone asks? It means I decide whether those major moves go forward, I say. I turn to Richard, letting the silence make room for what's next. I now have the authority to decide your role here. I think unpaid advisor has a nice ring. Gasps and camera shutters burst again. In my periphery, Vanessa's PR instincts fight her daughter reflex and lose. Mark sputters, then stops, the realization dawning that louder won't fix arithmetic. Investors exchange glances like traders spotting a trend line. The mayor finds a neutral patch of sky to study. Richard's face drains. Vanessa grips his arm. Somewhere a reporter asks, "Will you be stepping down immediately?" Power, once unseated, doesn't return. It grows new roots elsewhere. Richard's voice from years ago slips through the stillness as if the room itself had stored it in the grain of the wood. You'll never sit in this chair. The irony tastes sharp but clean as I adjust the nameplate in front of me. The etching is precise, serif letters catching the light. Claire Montgomery, chair of the board. My fingers rest on the cool brass a second longer than necessary, grounding myself in the weight of the moment. Outside, the lake stretches into May. Sunlight at surface, broken only by the shimmer of a passing sailboat. Far beyond the glass, the old Montgomery Holdings building stands like an abandoned script, its relevance fading with every ripple. The conference room is designed to impress glass on three sides, a table of dark walnut long enough to seat 20. Today, every seat is filled, but the faces are different. The first motion of this morning's meeting confirmed what the minutes from April 28th already recorded: my unanimous election as chair. The formality is a seal on a transition that began the day the red drape fell. Now the chairs once held by my father's loyalists are occupied by a younger, more diverse group, people brought in for their ability to execute, not their family lineage. There's an energy in the air, not the brittle caution of old board sessions, but a live current of possibility. I scan the table. On my right, Lena Alvarez, a renewable energy strategist whose portfolio includes 2 award-winning urban projects, flips open her binder. Beside her, Samir Kapoor, a tech integration specialist, adjusts his tie while murmuring to our CFO about pilot programs. Across from them, I catch the quiet nod of our new community liaison, Rachel Ung, as she reviews the day's agenda. At the far end, Richard sits under the same lake light as the rest of us, but the cut of his shadow seems sharper. The badge clipped to his lapel reads, Advisor, the black letters, smaller than his name. We move through the first agenda items with efficiency. Updates on the Emerald Shores timeline. Funding reallocations from marketing vanity projects into infrastructure. Approval of a clean energy microgrid feasibility study. No one interrupts to posture. No one filibusters to run out the clock. I keep my voice measured, but every time a motion passes without resistance, I feel the scaffolding of the old order falling away piece by piece. Midway through the press corner stirs 2 photographers adjusting their lenses, Madeline already leaning forward in her chair, pen poised above a notebook. This part was deliberate. Transparency isn't just policy now. It's theater, the kind I control. When the opportunity comes, I address both the board and the cameras. We'll prioritize innovation and community impact over legacy politics. I say, letting each word land before moving to the next. Emerald Shores will be a model for sustainable development and equitable opportunity in Austin. This isn't about preserving a name. It's about building something that outlasts any of us. The room holds a quiet that isn't resistance. It's absorption. I can feel the press scribbling, the city's liaison nodding almost imperceptibly. Richard writes in his legal pad without looking up, as though transcribing the words of a meeting he never planned to attend in this capacity. He says nothing, and the silence from his end of the table is louder than any objection he could voice. When the public portion ends and the photographers withdraw, the atmosphere loosens by a degree. Madeline waits until the chatter resumes before stepping toward me. Was this about money or respect? She asks, voice low but recorder ready. I glance past her to where Richard sits, closing his binder. Our eyes meet for the briefest second, enough for the old challenge in his to flicker and then fade. Sometimes I answer, the biggest investment is in yourself. I let the sentence stand without ornament because truth doesn't need to be padded when it's earned. We move to the final motion on the agenda, the formal adoption of the governance plan I drafted over the past month. It codifies the transparency protocols, the veto authority, the community investment benchmarks. Everything that ensures no single family or name can hold Emerald Shores hostage to ego again. The vote is swift, the outcome unanimous. Pens scratch over paper as signatures lock the plan into the record. I slide the final document toward Richard. As advisor, he is required to sign off acknowledging the resolution. He takes the pen, pauses just long enough for the weight of it to register, and then writes his name. I can almost see the muscle tighten in his hand as the ink spreads across the page. When he slides it back to me, there's no trace of argument, no effort to reclaim ground. Just the faint impression of a man adjusting to a reality he cannot reverse. The gavel's tap signals adjournment. Chairs scrape lightly. Conversations splinter into clusters. I stand watching the lake catch the light in shards. It mirrors the sky so perfectly it could be mistaken for another world. As I gather my notes, movement catches my eye. Richard's briefcase, always latched before he leaves a room, sits open beside his chair. Inside, a sealed envelope rests on top of a stack of legal pads. The paper is cream heavier than standard stock, the seal unbroken. He sees me looking. For the first time, he doesn't close it. In the end, the empire built on exclusion stood beneath new leadership, its former gatekeepers left in the shadows they once cast. What began as a quiet act of resistance became a public reckoning, proving that arrogance is most vulnerable when it believes itself untouchable. When injustice is met with unwavering courage, the final verdict can echo through a lifetime. And sometimes the sharpest victory is not shouted from the stage, but written permanently into the foundation where all can see it.